Happy NFL Draft Eve! It is Wednesday, midday, and after 37 minutes of troubleshooting and a lot of profanity on my part, we can finally welcome in Mark Daniels after some technical issues. Mark Daniels, of course, on MassLive. I would say right now the hardest working Patriots beat reporter, and I include myself and I include Doug in that, because the man can brag about a 7,000 word NFL draft guide. Would you like to do that now? Would you like to get into the 7-round mock draft? What do you want to do with the first few minutes back on the pod?
You know, I'll just say previewing the draft, Andrew, is a labor of love. I think at times you sort of feel like a weatherman where you're like, I can tell you what can possibly happen, but it probably won't happen. And it's so much work that I think you have to really enjoy, like, just guessing. You know what I mean? I have different formulas I use. I've looked up every, position player Mike Vrabel drafted at Tennessee and tried to find a mold. I looked up, the guys. I have all the numbers for who's been drafted from the Patriots from 2000 to like 2024. Does that still apply for offensive guys like Josh McDaniels? I take a look at pre-draft contacts, and I sometimes go with my gut. So like this year, when I saw leader, aggressive, violent, captain, I'm like, yeah, sounds like Mike Vrabel, right? I don't know. It's a guessing game. So all I'll say is it was a labor of love. It was a ton of work, but I'm glad the draft is almost here.
Yeah, definitely read it at MassLive if you haven't. I assume you're killing time if you're listening to this episode before the draft, because this is not an episode we do very often, which has basically a 30-hour shelf life. Again, it's just past 11:30. Wednesday, the draft will kick off 8 p.m. Thursday, and the dogs are ready for the draft as we can hear now.
I'm going to let him in the office. 1 second.
Yeah. All right, my man. We're bringing a new guest. So this is the plan here today. 7-round mock draft. We are going to have one bold prediction for you. And then, as I told you earlier this week, whenever our last episode released, Doug Kyde and I should be back Saturday morning, tentatively, because getting draft brain is something that is detrimental to doing good content and just thinking straight. So we will see where we're at Saturday. If not, new live stream coming Monday after the draft. Mina Kimes, Danny Kelly, Phil Perry, plenty of people who will join, as Mark did for our live event last week, which is a lot more fun because it was beer. We had beer and it was in person. And I feel like I'm getting draft brain already. So let's start this 7-round mock.
Yeah,
we're going backwards. 2 7th-round picks Patriots have at number 238 and number 220. What are you doing with these two picks? What do you think the Patriots will do with these two picks?
I want to see them do something fun. So I want a quarterback. I want a kicker. So for quarterback, I have to go back to my roots. University of New Hampshire. Max Brosmer, he transferred to Minnesota. I think he'd make a good backup quarterback. Not the biggest guy in the world. He's smart, though, and he's accurate. So I think of Josh McDaniels, bring in someone who knows they're going to be a number 3, and they're okay with that. That's not Joe Milton. And bring in someone who has some accuracy, maybe someone you can work with. So for me, I'm picking my guy from New Hampshire who went to Minnesota, Max Brosmer. With the kicker class, Andrew, really interesting. I think the best kicker is Andres Borregales from Miami. Does that translate to New England? I have no idea. But what I do know is he kicked a 65-yard field goal on his pro day. I think you bring him in and you compete. I'm not set on the kicker draft class, but for this exercise, I'd love to see the Pats draft a kicker, one of them, and a quarterback. I think that'd be fun too. Just bring in a number 3 quarterback to be behind Josh Dobbs and Drake May.
Yeah, it's interesting talking kickers because, we've lived through the Justin Rohrwasser experience. We've lived through the Chad Ryland experience, and then Chad leaves and goes back to his old techniques and kills it in Arizona. So obviously there are not a lot of prospects that are worth the 4th or 5th round selection this year. I just went kicker in the 7th, figuring, Borregales will probably go a little bit earlier. And then if they're going to take someone, Ryan Fitzgerald from Florida State, which is a dart throw, it could be the guy there in terms of leg strength and accurate enough. But there's a lot of information that Jeremy Springer and Tom Quinn will go out and gather that, we don't have beyond the real numbers, which isn't to discount the numbers. It's just if they want them to change their techniques or their approach, that's what you see in the live workout. That's what the purpose of these trips are. So that's why I went with the 7th round, but also because I didn't really want to spend much time in the 7th round. And I don't think the people do either. Though I do like the Brosmer pick, which I did a couple of weeks ago with Mike Giardi. Did you ever watch him on TV or in person as a UNH guy?
Yeah, I did. He was there forever, honestly. He was a guy who gray shirted, so he came in early. And that doesn't happen a lot at UNH to have a recruit actually come in. My wife making an appearance. Yeah, her head. we have a puppy at home, so he's a cute dog, but a nightmare sometimes. So Max Brosmer went to UNH early, which like never happens for that program. The story there, I believe he was down in Georgia, and I think it was the Georgia coach Kirby Smart flew a helicopter to his high school to try to get him to be a recruited walk-on. Max Brosmer left school that day because he was so committed to UNH, and I love that story. So I was very aware of him. He was one of the best quarterbacks, 1AA. Good kid, hard worker. So yeah, I'm a fan.
That's a great story. I remember when that first came in vogue. It felt like 10 years ago in college football. Texas A&M had a head coach, Kevin Sumlin. They called it the swag copter. And like, look, I would take a helicopter ride in the middle of this podcast. I would leave you as Max Brosmer left his school right now to go do that. But I also wonder if it gets like overplayed, like a helicopter is as cool now anymore, because clearly it wasn't cool enough for Max Brosmer.
No, yeah, and for a preferred walk-on spot too.
Yeah, so. Yeah. All right, let's move to the fifth round. Number 171. Again, trades are allowable, and I think you will hear some a little bit later, but not really quite at this stage. Who do you have for the Patriots at 171?
I've been going back and forth in the fifth round here. I'm going to go Keandre Lambert-Smith, wide receiver, Auburn, had a pre-draft visit with the Patriots. He's like a 4.39 guy. He's fast, probably more of a Z than an X. I'd prefer an X, but I think for the Patriots, just bring in some athletes, take shots. We'll get into my hot take later about this receiver class, but I think for this draft, I don't mind a late shot at receiver. So for me, I'm going the fifth round. You know, it's really interesting because the Pats struggle so much to draft receivers in the early rounds. But then you think about Demario Douglas, sixth round. It got Kayshon Boutte last year, sixth round pick. So for me, you know, that last pick in the fifth round, I'm going receiver. I don't know if you asked me about the other fifth round pick. I'm just going to throw it out there because I really, really like this guy.
Go ahead.
His name is Jack Kaiser. He's a linebacker from Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. He was like a 6-year kid who stayed at Notre Dame all 6 years. Like captain, A-plus character. He fits the Vrabel mold for what he looks for in an athlete and size for a middle linebacker. Jack Kaiser was also a core special teamer. So like core special teamer, outstanding leader, like good kid. I could see Jack Kaiser being the type of player Mike Vrabel would want in the locker room.
So I struggle with Kaiser and Nick Martin last mock draft because they both fit, like you're saying, high character, smaller guys, just fly around the freaking field. And I think Kaiser's a good pick here, which, you know, I think the fifth round is like what you were talking about before. You kind of gamble on traits, you know, just take a flyer. Like if he's got one thing, we'll build around that. We'll see what we can get. If not, most fifth round picks get cut. So I'd like the Kaiser pick. I ended up not going with the linebacker here with these two picks. And remind me, I want to get to the Kayshon Boutte conversation in a second because we got more rumors that he might be traded. Could be this and that. What could he fetch? We'll figure it out. My two picks, one of which I've already named, and I'm just going to ride this out because I heard this going back all the way to the combine. The Patriots really like Mac McWilliams, who's a corner at a UCF, and it transferred. He basically had like a grad year at UCF. He's looking to go in the fourth, fifth round. Should play nickel. Ran a 4.41. Relentless player. Like again, talk about violence. Vrabel guys. His awareness on deep balls isn't great, but he had a good Senior Bowl practice. I think that weighs a lot with the Patriots. He returned punts, talk about special teams value. Like this is a guy who's been a captain before in his team, you know, went to UCF, wasn't a captain, but you still give him credit for the previous school. So Mac McWilliams is my guy. And he's 5'10", he's 191, might be a permanent nickel, but I think they look and go, we'll give you a shot on the outside. Where did he make in the draft guide, if at all?
He did not make it. I selected. Okay. So for the draft guide, I featured 5 prospects, a first-round option, someone well-connected to the Patriots or people in the organization. I did an athletic fit, a late-round fit, and sort of a player to watch, which would be one of my favorite players. So honestly, it was a spray chart, man. I just, all over the place, going everywhere I can with this stuff.
It's like your new dog in the living room, just spraying everywhere sometimes.
Yeah, that was yesterday, right around dinner. It's great.
Yeah. My other pick, and this is number 144. So this would have been your Kaiser pick. You have Kaiser going ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. I had LaQuint Allen, the running back at Syracuse, and this would be probably a little bit of a fall for him. But you talk about a versatile guy, 3-down back, doesn't wow the athleticism. People forgot like James White almost ran a 4.6 back in the day. Granted, this is going on 11, 12 years ago. He's just got a knack for the right play. Like knows what to do. And I think for an offense, it's looking for a reliable 3rd-down back. He had 64 catches last year, most in college football among all running backs, plus 1,000 yards rushing. Syracuse played a lot of up-tempo, so they got a lot of extra plays, and played special teams. So if he's physical and blitz pickup, which he is, he can catch the ball, which he demonstrated with those 64, I'll say again, 64 catches. This is a guy I think just is on the board somewhere.
Yeah, that's a lot of catches.
Yeah.
All right, if you're a Patriots fan, I've got a good feeling that you are feeling pretty good. Mike Vrabel is back. Drake May is going to make a year 2 leap. Oh, and there's a simple fact that as the Patriots go into a new season, it really just shouldn't get any worse, okay? We've been through 4-13, not once, now twice. Things should be on the up and up. But if you don't want to wait to watch the Patriots win in September and October and November, and maybe December, January, you don't have to. You can win right now with me over at Prizepicks. It's America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. You've heard me talk about Prizepicks before. It helps me spice up watching regular season Celtics and Bruins, and now the Red Sox are back, and it's so simple. Here's how it works. You build a lineup. Whomever you want, whatever stats you want, you lock it in more or less. It could be 2 players, and you could be looking at their hits, or it might be points or assists, or whatever it might be that particular night. 3-pointers as the Celtics go into the playoffs, and you look at that player, you click more, you click less, you do that for 2 players, boom, that's a whole lineup. But let's say you want to get a little frisky. You want to build out a 6-player lineup at Prizepicks, and you go more or less, and they're different statistics. You can take $5 and turn that into $1,000 because Prizepicks is still the best place to get real money sports action anywhere. And best of all, if you sign up today, you will get $50 instantly when you play your first $5. You don't even need to win to get the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed, not to mention weekly promotions like Taco Tuesday. Every Tuesday, you get up to $25 or 25% more to provide more value on your lineup. So don't wait anymore, okay? Basketball's going to the playoffs. Hockey's going to the playoffs. The Sox have a long season ahead. Spice up that season. Download the Prizepicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, run your game.
All right, Kayshon Boutte, before we go any further, what have you heard? What do you feel? What do you think about this developing trade market, which seems to fit from the standpoint of possibly the old removing entitlement day one, first thing we heard from Vrabel, but also is it a position that if they're going to draft, and I think you and I are probably going to take some receivers, you already took one, he just might be the odd man out.
It's interesting because I think for personality and just based off what's happened to him in the past, I'd say he's probably not a fit for what Mike Vrabel's looking for in the locker room. But the jump he made from year 1 to year 2 intrigues me enough that I might actually not trade him. Like I'll be honest, I haven't heard much about Kayshon Boutte. That was really interesting. But when I saw it, I was like, well, maybe he's just not a character fit. My question though, is to say out loud, if Kayshon Boutte is not a character fit, then how is Javon Baker, who I think has more character issues than Kayshon Boutte? So it's hard for me to like, all right, are you going to draft a receiver? And if you do early, first 3 rounds, then you probably need to trade someone. And maybe Kayshon is the odd man out. I mean, I would think that Josh McDaniels likes Kendrick Bourne based off their history together. And I like Kendrick Bourne. You like Kendrick Bourne. I don't want to see Kendrick Bourne moved. But in terms of tradable assets, it's Kendrick Bourne or Kayshon Boutte, right? No one's trading for Jalen Polk or Javon Baker. So surprising to me. Maybe that's one of those things that, if they draft someone in the 2nd and 3rd round, you're moving someone day 3 of the draft. And maybe it is Kayshon. And maybe it's just as simple as, hey, I don't think he fits into what I want my players to be, off the field. And I'm not saying he's been a problem, but I think his first year with the Patriots, there were some issues there that many on the staff thought he would be cut last year. And he surprised everyone and made this huge jump to the point. I asked someone on the team last year, why do you think Javon Baker and Jalen Polk can actually make a jump? Because last year was rough. The answer I got was, well, if Kayshon Boutte could do it after what he went through his rookie year, these guys can do it. So, maybe they're hoping Javon Baker makes a leap, gets together, Jalen Polk gets his head on straight, gets it together, and if that's the case, yeah, sure, draft someone and trade him. But I think there's a bit of risk there, right? He's young. He came in the league at like 20, 21 years old. He was, I want to say, your 2nd or 3rd youngest player on the roster last year in year 2. So for me, I don't know, Andrew. What do you feel? Like, would you trade him? If you really like someone in the 2nd round, fine, trade him. But I don't know. I kind of like keeping a young guy around, see what he can do.
I would. And obviously it depends on the return, which is the obvious point, but also something that you need to keep in mind because a lot of people are like, oh, just trade so-and-so. Like, well, what are you getting in return? There were people who work alongside us who thought Joe Milton would get a 3rd round pick. And what you asked is, I know you did, and Doug and I did, people in the league, they're like, are you kidding me? Yeah, so the Patriots are clearly comfortable to go back to Joe Milton to get the net value, sending him in a 7th out for a 5th back of a 6th round pick. I think Kayshon Boutte probably nets that, which then says, okay, you draft him in the 6th round, you get 2 years of production, really 1 year of production. Rookie year, you just kind of hung out. Is that worth it to you? I go, yeah, you were 2 coaches later. If Mike Vrabel feels like he can do something more with a 6th-round pick from this draft than whatever Kayshon Boutte will deliver in the next 2 years, which is the extent of his contract, sure. Because I also look at the receiver room as like this. Stephon Diggs lock, Demario Douglas lock, Kendrick Bourne all but assured to be a lock, Mac Hollins is a lock, and say we will about Bourne and Hollins being a number 3 and number 4 option. Hollins plays special teams. Bourne knows the system. He'll be healthier than was last year, should be more productive. You have Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, and Kayshon Boutte fighting to be receiver number 5. And we know that entitlement came through last year with Kayshon Boutte. If you're Mike Vrabel, you're going, why am I going to listen to my 5th receiver ask for the football and say you should have thrown it to more to me after losses?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, it's interesting too, seeing the Patriots get rid of so many leaders from last year. And I think clearly there was an accountability problem in the locker room. And Kayshon and some of the guys in the receiver group, they were a part of that problem. So you make a good point. I got to be honest. You said that. I actually forgot about Mac Hollins for a sec. How could I forget about Mac Hollins? You're right. Stephon Diggs and Mac Hollins, that's kind of a loaded – it's not loaded, but you have enough depth that it's like you could move on from a young guy. And this draft class too, they say that like day 3 to UDFA is actually strong. Like the Patriots might load up on UDFAs and these guys might make the roster and like sort of also says of the state of the roster. But like if you do think you can get someone in the 5th, 6th round that'll stick and you can build, go for it, man. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, and I think too that it's part of the reason I package the 7th rounders to get the kicker that you want and then figure out the 3rd quarterback. Like if the Patriots ever need Max Brosmer to play, they're screwed, right? And I think they look at this and go, we'll sign a camp arm. Maybe they sign 2 undrafted kids and develop one and see who beats them out in rookie minicamp. But that's where I think I'm at on Kayshon Boutte. There's nothing personal against him. He had some incredible catches there last year. There's not a skill though or trait that you bet on. Like we talk about guys who might be available still 5th round that you go, we'll take a flyer and Kendry Lambert-Smith. Like that dude can fly. Okay. Yeah. You teach him how to run a handful of vertical routes and have them complement each other. You can work with that. Kayshon Boutte did get in better shape last year, did turn it around. I just think it's not the right time or the right fit. Again, being drafted 2 head coaches ago. So that's where I'm at. All right. We are closing in on round 4. This is pick number 106. Who do you have your eye on?
For me, this is the sweet spot at running back for the Patriots. This class is so deep at running backs. I'd love for them to take a swing late 3rd, 4th round. So for this one, I'm going Trevor Etienne, running back from Georgia. He's 5'9". Obviously, he has a brother who plays for the Jaguars. Solid hands out of the backfield. And what I'm looking for is a receiver who can come in and potentially either back up Ramondre and take over or be the 3rd down back. We haven't really had a prototypical 3rd down back since Josh McDaniels left. So maybe it's Trevor Etienne. But there's so many guys. This is a really hard pick for me because I like RJ Harvey. I like a lot of these guys. Even it's a Cam Scatterbo. He's a fun prospect to watch. He's kind of a badass. I like him. They also brought in Dylan Sampton from Tennessee. He took a pre-draft visit. Obviously, Etienne took a pre-draft visit. So I have mocked so many running backs. I haven't mocked Etienne yet. So this exercise, I got to throw it because if it actually happens, I can say I said it on your podcast.
We will clip it. We will send it to you as we are very generous here at Pat's Interference. I like it a lot. I mean, he took the 30 visit. Those are going to tell you something. It's just unfortunate that it's not until after the fact you know what that something is, right? Are they checking in on character? Do they love these guys as we saw 2023? I think it was at least half that draft class came to Foxboro. They loved him. They wanted to see what it was about. Trevor Etienne comes in with not as much tread on his tires, right? It was basically last year, and even that, it wasn't a guy rushing for 1,200 yards. Pro-style system, should be ready to go. And, I love Dylan Sampson. He's my favorite in this range if you want to go late 2nd to early 4th. I just think he's going to go earlier. But RJ Harvey, you mentioned. Facial Tootin, who has fumbling problems. I already talked about him. So dynamic, not to mention fastest guy at the combine. Give me that guy who can catch the ball and just do something with it that you can't teach. So I like it. 4th round, 106. I'm going with the guy who was the number 1 on my board last week. I was talking with Alex Barth about most likely Patriots draft picks. Out of anyone in the draft, any position, any round, anything. Ty Robinson, defensive tackle out of Nebraska, who I know is in the draft guide because I saw it. I was like, yes. 6'5", 288, could go again late 3rd, early 5th. We get him right here in the 4th. 5-year starter. Renowned for his leadership, toughness, can play across the defensive line. 42 pressures last year. Older player, but I just think for a team that is looking again, I'll say it again. Kyrie's Tonga is your 3rd defensive tackle right now. If Christian Barmore's healthy, you go Ty Robinson. No, you're our number 3. Tonga's our number 4. We're ready to roll with that type of group.
I saved him for my last mock draft today on MassLive because I like him so much. My favorite defensive tackle, Jeff. He also blocked a field goal, so he's got special teams ability there. Yeah, he fits the prototypical mold of what Vrabel looked for an athlete at a defensive tackle. He was like my number 1 guy. So really like him. Good character too. Like that's a good pick.
Yeah. All right, we're getting into day 2. This is I'm writing about this later today, but I want to get your take on this. The Patriots' success in the draft is going to be as much, if not more, about what they do with these day 2 picks and what is described as a day 2 heavy draft. Like these are legit second, third round prospects where we all look at the first round and be like, oh, there's only 3 blue chip players. This is a reach. Will Campbell that. Armamembu this. They have to make a pick in the first round. They'll make it, but they're going to make their money here on day 2. Yes or no?
Yeah, they need starters immediately. You can't whiff. I talked to a source. This was after Mayo got hired, who told me, for us to turn it around in New England, we need to average 4 to 5 starters in the draft a year for 3 years in a row. That's how bad the roster was. And obviously, I don't know if that happened last year. So, I look at this draft. You need starters second round, third round, even that fourth round pick. These have to be guys who are going to make an impact for you when it's all said and done. So, this is a huge draft, man. They say it's deep. Defensive line, tight end, running back. Even honestly, even if it's guard, I don't care. The only thing I care about is at the end of the day, when these rookie contracts are up, you have 4 or 5 guys who can start. So I agree, man. They need better depth. They need better young players. Day 2 of the draft's huge for them.
Yeah. All right. Who do you got at number 77? This is a third round pick from the Falcons in the Matt Judon trade.
His name is really hard. Oluwafemi Oladejo, edge rusher, UCLA. I saw a video of him speaking. He is an impressive person. I think there's room for a young edge rusher to come in with Harold Landry and Clavon Chase on and play right away and make an impact. And with the edge rushing class, the Pats, I'd say this, out of the guys they brought in for 30 visits, I've tracked the most out of edge rushers. It almost makes me want to guarantee they're going to draft an edge rusher somewhere. They've spent so much time bringing in these different guys, and I believe Oladejo was one of them. He's an impressive character, pass rusher, a little bit raw. You're going to have to get them more out of him. But, I think there's room based off this depth chart to say, all right, Harold Landry, though, probably not the same he was a couple of years ago. Clavon Chason is a dart throw. Bring in another edge rusher. So second or third round for me. I'm picking the kid from UCLA with a really tough name to say, but I like him. Fantastic person.
Yeah, and there was, I think he got kicked out of a game or was suspended for the opener last year. So this is a visit where clearly you like the tape and the production, but you want to bring him in and be like, okay, was this a one-off? What's the canned answer? Yeah. You can skirt through that or get around it in a 12, 15-minute combine interview, right? Your agent has prepared you. This is what you say when they ask about this. You have a whole day with Mike Vrabel, man. He's going to get it out of you, whatever that might be.
DSM.
Yeah. All right. I'm going with a pick that I think is going to surprise some folks because it feels a little high for this position. But as you know, Garrett Bradbury signed for $3.5 million guaranteed. The Vikings happily cut him and signed another center. So Jared Wilson, center from Georgia. Nice. I think here not only is a guy that fits what they want to do and their timeline, but could start right away. And he was an outstanding athlete against his other centers at the combine. He is a pass protector first. Obviously, they want to move some people in the run game. But you look at this and go, we don't have to cross our fingers that Cole Strange can make a position change this deep into his NFL career coming off injury. We'll just figure it out between Bradbury and Jared Wilson. Comes from a good program, tough. I just think he's a guy that makes too much sense here, even if it'll feel like a little rich at 77 if they do pull the trigger here with him.
Yeah, the thing that worries me about Garrett Bradbury, it's like the Minnesota Vikings are moving on with the young quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, and they opted to bring in a different center. So then you bring in Garrett Bradbury, who's not good enough for the Vikings, and J.J. McCarthy, who you're saying is good enough for Drake May. Now, speaking with Bradbury, awesome person, right? Great, yeah. One of the best podium interviews I've ever been a part of. But there is concern there, and the Patriots should bring in another center. And maybe it's Cole Strange, but honestly, Cole Strange is entering the final year of his contract, right? They're not going to pick up that fifth-year option. So you need depth that goes beyond this 1 year. And right now, it's like Cole Strange contract year. I think Ben Brown contract year. Garrett Bradbury, there's some question marks. I mean, I'd be all for it. I know Twitter would blow up. Why are you drafting the center? But honestly, when he's starting for you, no one's going to be saying that.
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny too because I was put in your position the other night of defending Will Campbell. So someone I think we're going to get to here in a little bit.
Yeah.
And there's a way to frame this that gets very simple, even if you are like me, concerned about the wingspan. This is not a pick just to fix a position. This is a pick to protect Drake May. Okay, so Jared Wilson in that light, third round center at Georgia, like, why don't you take another receiver? Why don't you get an edge rusher? First of all, those are coming here in a second. But B, that's the fastest line to Drake May, straight up the middle, through the guy that gave him the snap. You need that position to be squared away in a way that we didn't really see last year, and obviously caused a lot of havoc. All due respect to Ben Brown, but I do think they're going to draft the center, and this is about as high as I think they would go, and Jared Wilson should be there.
Yeah, it's a good call.
Can you hear it? Can you see it? One of the best times in the sports calendar is coming up on the horizon. No, not Patriots OTAs, not minicamp, not training camp. I am talking about the NBA playoffs, baby, because, look, as the Patriots have decided to sit out on their own accord the postseason the last 2 years, I've had the great honor and joy of going to Celtics games at a sold-out TD Garden crowd for the last 4 years for the Herald. And I'm going back, even if my work won't send me, because thanks to Gametime, I can get in with the lowest price guarantee to any NBA playoff game this year. And you should too, because let's say you find even a lower price elsewhere. Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference because of their lowest price guarantee. And when you go to Gametime, unlike other places, you find an all-in pricing right up front. No fees, no extra charges, no this and that. Just here's the number. If you want the tickets, boom, they're all yours. And best yet, you can see the view from your seats before you even get there. So if you want to deliberate, whether it's the Celtics or the Knicks or the Lakers or the Bulls aren't going anywhere, whomever you want to go see, you can see what it's like in your seat and compare in real time, but only with Gametime. So take all the guesswork out of buying tickets for NBA games or NHL or concerts or shows by going to Gametime and using Gametime picks. Download the Gametime app today. Create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account at Gametime and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime.
All right, number 69, their original pick. Who you got?
So I really like this guy, and he might be gone by here. It's Darius Alexander, defensive tackle, Toledo. He's more of an interior pass rusher. I think the Patriots should absolutely draft a defensive tackle in the first 3 rounds. And my rationale is this class is so deep that you can get a starting caliber defensive tackle in the first 3, maybe 4 rounds. I think the Patriots should take advantage of that. You need better depth behind Milton Williams and Christian Barmore, partly because of Christian Barmore's health concerns. And you said it, they brought in Kyrie's Tonga, but I want to see another young guy there. I think a 3rd round is perfect for defensive tackle. Bring in someone who could, listen, you could play all 3 of them if you wanted to, but I think you need a little bit better depth there. We don't know what's going to happen with Christian Barmore. It's a really scary situation. It's great that he's working out now, but in this exercise, a guy like Darius Alexander, interior pass rusher, so it'd probably be like a situational pass rusher to start, but I think he'd have good depth. You have a ton of resources there, but I don't think they should stop, man. I think you need to beef up the trenches.
Yeah. I want to say he came for a 30 visit, no?
You did, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So there's that. The Senior Bowl box that he checked, which is the big question, right? Like, okay, this guy's got the measurables. His production at Toledo wasn't great, never had more than 5 sacks in a single season. And then goes out and faces competition that's much better than the teams he saw at Toledo and kicks their ass. And you're like, okay, I think this might be able to work. And, there's a difference, obviously, sacks to pressures when you talk about production is this, completely enveloping term or all-encompassing term. But yeah, I like it. I don't think he'll be there, but I do think that's someone that people should look, because I've considered, and I think even mocked him once at 38. So their 2nd round pick that might.
I'll be honest, I did too. Yeah, I have too.
Yeah. Okay. Number 69 for me. People are sick of me talking about this player, but I just think Mike Vrabel could build him in a lab and have him start on the edge. Maybe not this year, but in the years to come. Barron Sorrell, 6'3", 256, athletic freak. I talked about him at our event. He started the Senior Bowl, plays 100 miles an hour, team captain, just doesn't have a wide variety of pass rush moves. Cool. Terrell Williams is here to teach you, man. Everything else that you're going to bring is going to be an impact, at least in a rotation, and long-term prototypical size, attitude, play demeanor, fierce, just good play recognition, academic, All-American, all this stuff. Like I can't talk about him anymore. But there's a good reason that I can keep talking, because our first surprise of the mock, the Patriots are not just picking at 69, they're picking at 68, Mark, because they have a 3rd round pick from the Raiders, which I will explain later. Jack Beck, TCU, Senior Bowl MVP, 6'1", 214. This is the receiver that I found. I don't love him quite as much as our guy Mike Giardi, but you talk about a guy who can play inside out, should be a number 2 in the league, body control, strong hands, separates well enough, athletic family. The character's there. It's just going to maximize his tools. So I've talked about him a lot. But these two, I think, if they do get an extra third-round pick, which, again, we'll explain here in a second, the receiver, like this range of 60 to 75 is so rich with players that play the positions they need and fit the Vrabel prototype. This would be basically back-to-back home runs as I see it for players who could get here.
Yeah, good person too, right? And I think I don't think we can understate that. Like Mike Vrabel wants to change the culture in the locker room. He even told us, like, I want players who will make an impact in the locker room, but in the community. Jack Beck's a good person. Obviously, the situation of his brother was tragic, but I like the idea of the Patriots just taking shots at receiver every single year. Like, hey, you have to get it right at some point. It's just been way too long. You keep missing. Jack Beck, there's some interesting guys. I have a different developing take on the receiver position, but Jack Beck's good story. I would love to write about him.
Do you want to get that now? Because I imagine I don't know if you have a receiver at 38, but you got this hot take.
Yeah, no, my hot take or my bold prediction is the Pats will not draft a receiver this year. And that's my bold prediction. And sort of the hot take is that I don't love the class. Like, I think the top end is incredibly overrated. I don't like Ted McMillan. I like Travis Hunter, but he's not going to be there. So if I'm the Patriots, I focus on the positions that are deep in the draft: defensive tackle, edge rusher, tight end, running back. Those are the positions I really want to see in the first 4 rounds, especially rounds 2 to 4. Hammer where the draft is deep, get known guys. So for me, hey, you want to take a wide receiver on day 3, I don't really care. But sort of my bold take or bold prediction is the Pats are just going to not draft a receiver because there'll be better players at other positions available. People hate it. I put that on Twitter the other day. People were really mad at me over it. And I understand it because I also understand, like, hey, we need to take shots. We need better receivers. I don't know if this is the draft class to do it. I like the defensive tackles, edge rushers, even some linebackers, running backs, tight ends a little bit better. So that is my sort of hot take, bold prediction. They're going to say no to the receiver class this year.
Well, I hope people weren't too mad because we've all lived this before. What was the year? Maybe it was 2023. No, they took Kayshon Boutte that year and Mario Douglas. The year that it was supposedly a historic receiving class, like really, really good. And you and I are saying they're gonna double dip here. Tyquan Thornton went second round in 2022. Maybe that was it, and they just kind of blew it. Yeah. Do you remember?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It was definitely the 2020s. We're in a dynasty league, and I remember one year stocking up on receivers too. Was it even like the Justin Jefferson year or something?
Yeah, you know what it was, 2020. It's a great recall by you. Yeah, Justin Jefferson, 1 pick ahead of them, and Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb was in that class. Jalen Reagor busted out. Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins. Yeah, okay. So that
Gabriel Davis. I think who was the guy who was on the practice squad? Jalen Reagor. Yeah, Jalen Reagor. Those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, Jalen Reagor, God, Ferrari in the garage there at the mobile home park. Very good. Okay, I like it. I can definitely see that. I think it's going to need to be a fit and a best player available. But those are players in a position that teams tend to reach for. Especially if there's, let's say, a run in round 1, which a run would consist of maybe 4 guys. Like you're going to have McMillan's going to go, and Matthew Golden should go, and Buka should go, and a couple guys that are right there at that next tier. Jack Beck might not even make it to 68 as I have projected here. Okay, second round, 38.
My ideal scenario, and people would hate this, is the Patriots draft a guard at 38. I love Trey Booker, and I don't think he'll be there. So for this exercise, I say Donovan Jackson, guard, Ohio State, which is kind of funny because Donovan Jackson replaced Josh Simmons as a left tackle at Ohio State. They won the national title. He played so well that some people think he could play tackle. In this exercise, though, I'm taking the guy that they think could play tackle, and I'm putting him at left guard because I think Donovan Jackson and Michael Onwenu, as your 2 guards would be just so much power, man. That'd be so much strength. I think the Patriots should seriously consider drafting a guard at the top of the second round. Just plug and play for the next 4 years. Just solve the issue. I get they have Layden Robinson, but I asked Mike Vrabel about Layden Robinson in the owners' meetings. He said he wants him to train at both positions. The only thing that tells me is they see him as a backup. You know what? Get someone high upside. You're drafting a guard at 38. He should be a Pro Bowl player. I like Donovan Jackson. Now, the fact that he could play tackle, it also applies here, right? If something goes wrong, your left tackle, maybe he slides over. But if it's me and there's someone like good like that, Donovan Jackson, Trey Booker, Gray Zabel at the top of the second, I'm seriously consider doing it. I think protecting Drake May should be the number 1 priority of this draft for the Patriots. So for me, 38, I'm going Donovan Jackson, guard, Ohio State.
I like Donovan Jackson a lot. It would be interesting to see what they want to do with him. And some teams are just open to, figure it out when you get here. And others want to have a very specific plan year 1 to year 2 to year 3 of exactly what your trajectory, what we're going to do with you looks like. But if you can play left tackle, and this will obviously depend on whatever they do in the first round, you don't want to pass up on that skill set. It might just take more development as a guy who played guard at Ohio State, but you love the durability. You love the high character part of what he's doing there. Play demeanor, everything. I think Donovan Jackson would be a fine pick at 38. I went with a different position, and this is both a current and a long-term play. Elijah Arroyo, tight end out of Miami, 6'5", 254, 22 years old, great Senior Bowl player. Again, a big boxing check for the Patriots. Potential to be an all-around tight end. Right now, I think you'd feel more comfortable with him kind of flexing out as your traditional Y. Good news. You've got guys who can play inline in Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper. Hooper's contract is up after this season. Henry will have some amount of non-guaranteed money in year 3 of his deal, which will be 2026. You need a replacement there and someone who could also bring long speed down the seams, which was the best thing he did at Miami last year. I think he ran about a 4.5. He was only a 1-year starter, 590 yards, 7 touchdowns, but a team captain for a stretch, and unbelievable compete. Like a step below Ben Watson tracking down Champ Bailey on some interception returns you saw at Miami. This is a guy who I think who fits. It's just going to be a matter of, as you often find second, especially first round, okay, where does he stack up with guys that are still available there? Donovan Jackson's a really good debate. But I think with the upside here and his ability to play even maybe right away with that speed over the middle could be game-changing for this offense, which I think is going to lean into more tight ends, as we heard also from Mike Vrabel at the owners' meetings.
Yeah, I think the one thing I failed to do in all my mock drafts was select a tight end. And it's really good. Honestly, it's a really good tight end class. And you make great points because Hooper and Henry are both over 30, right? Hooper's in a contract year. Henry's only signed for 2 more years. They need to bring in a younger guy, rookie deal. You bring in a guy like that for 4 years, eventually he's probably your starting tight end. And we saw how much Hooper and Henry meant to Drake May last year. They were both his security blankets, honestly. They were probably his best weapons down the stretch at certain points. I mean, I had someone on the roster tell me, like, there's a reason why opposing teams are doubling our tight ends. It's because they were more reliable than the receivers. And because of that, they absolutely should. This is a really good tight end class. I also like Mason Taylor. I don't think he'll be there at 38. There's some talk of him going at the end of the first, but like guys like that, that would be fun. I'm not going to mock Tyler Warren to the Patriots, but I don't hate Tom Curran's idea because like if Tyler Warren turns into a Gronk or a legit pass catcher, then you have weaponized the offense around around Drake May. So if you're drafting a tight end at the top of the second round who could be a weapon, it's only going to help him. And again, it's about protecting Drake May, but it's about aiding Drake May's development.
And I think this is, to go against our guy Tommy, a better spot for a tight end, though, when you look at the history of tight ends that even thrive. Like Gronk was a second-round pick, famously. The history of tight ends that go top 10, top 15, and the prototype has changed in terms of what people want from them in the draft. Like Kyle Brady goes 25 years ago, big hulking dude who can block. You want more receivers now. It's just not very deep. Like that list of guys who are top 10 picks and live up to it as tight ends, even top 15, top 20, is not very long. Tyler Warren could certainly be an exception. But as we've said time and time again, I don't want to be betting on an exception, which brings us to Will Campbell, who I think if we can just spoil what's to come, both of our projected first-round picks for the Patriots tomorrow night, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, well, I get it. Listen, I've been driving the Will Campbell hype train all offseason and defending myself on Twitter. But the truth is this. I know there are people in the organization who really like him. And I know there are people in the organization who have liked him since last fall. And like, this is a guy who's started as a true freshman at left tackle at LSU. He's been playing tackle basically his entire football career since high school. He's really, really good. And I get it. The wingspan, the T-Rex arms, I get it. He's just really good. He was one of the top tackle recruits of the nation. He's been one of the top left tackles in the SEC since his true freshman year. He was second team all SEC as a freshman and then, first team as a sophomore and junior, a 2-time captain, right? He's done work with, just last week, he was visiting with kids with cancer in a hospital, giving them iPads and thanking the doctors and nurses for helping them. That is the type of guy. So when Mike Vrabel says he wants an impact player on the field, in the locker room, in the community, for me, it's Will Campbell. He fits it all. And also, Andrew, he's kind of a badass. I think him and Mike Vrabel, will get along. He's aggressive. He's the type of guy that'll like help kids in the hospital and then defend his teammates and punch you in the face in the same day. And I think all that matched in with, hey, the Patriots don't have a left tackle. It just makes too much sense. It makes too much sense. It's like you don't want to like 100% guarantee something because it can happen, but it's like I'm expecting the Patriots to call Will Campbell's name, which is why I'm mocking him here and why I saved him for my last mock draft.
Yeah, Will Campbell is the pick. You and I said this at our pre-draft party last week with Doug and Giardi and Hurley and Jeff. And I think as often is the case in draft season, we all come full circle. Like I was arguing for Will Campbell in November on the radio, being like, take the guy who gave up 2 sacks and 38 starts. Hadn't been measured yet. Hadn't dove into the tape because I was busy drowning in the Patriots offensive tape as you were, at that time of the year. But the point is this. The Patriots have not just a need at left tackle. It is a position that will directly affect Drake May. It is a position that has maybe the worst starting caliber player in the AFC ready to fill that need among premium positions. You cannot go into a season and expect to function with that level of talent and certainly depth at that position. Like I've been advocating them to double dip, even if you do take Will Campbell. My reservations are that the Patriots, in taking Will Campbell to play left tackle, which, by the way, I have him at number 6, not at number 4, because my bold prediction is that they do get someone to trade up. A lot of late buzz about Jacksonville wanting Ashton Genty. Rubbing their hands together at number 5. We're going to get the last blue chip player, big offensive player, difference maker, new GM, new head coach, a new toy to play with for Liam Cohen and Duval. The Raiders say not so fast. We have a 73-year-old head coach, 34-year-old quarterback. Totally new regime. We need to win now. You win now with a running back like him. They leap up to 4, give the Patriots their 3rd round pick, which is where that number 68 pick came in, and the Patriots go back to 6. My concern about Will Campbell is this. I've said this before, so I'll keep it short. When you are betting on someone who was a historically short wingspan, shortest since 2011, and you can see in his play the way he aggressively sets outside when pass protecting to reach you before you can long arm him, you are betting then that all of his other traits will be able to compensate for that in the way that short quarterbacks are exceptionally accurate and smart and process well. Drew Brees, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson can make up for that. The issue is all of those guys are outliers. I don't care that Will Campbell is not worth the typical number 4 overall pick. This is not a typical class. You got 3 blue chip players, including a running back who the Patriots cannot take. So I don't worry about that historically. What I do worry about historically is a guy of his measurements and frame being a long-term tackle. And you say, oh, he's going to play guard. I'm willing to roll the dice with Bladen Robinson and Cole Strange at City South, frankly, assuming center is taken care of. Tackle is another issue, but I do think he will be the pick. I will understand the pick. I will not love it. And I think that's where we're headed.
And I have another hot take about this pick. That say he ends up at left guard, right? I actually don't think it's the worst case in the world. Like say you trade down and you draft Ted McMillan. If he can't play a receiver, you're screwed and he's out of the league. If Will Campbell can't play left guard, if he can't play left tackle, you probably have a starting left guard. So in that way, it's like, all right, that would stink. You draft him at number 4 to be your tackle. It doesn't happen. But if he turns into like a Pro Bowl guard in this draft, I'm like, you know what? I'll take it. And in a way, that's why I think it's actually a safe pick. Because, all right, say it doesn't work out at left tackle, and everyone on Twitter is going to be like, I told you so. And you have a guy who plays left guard for the next 8 to 10 years, and he's like, say he's a Logan Mankins. All right, if he's a finalist for the Patriots Hall of Fame at guard, I would just say, you know what, it was a good pick. And I get people don't like that because it's number 4, but as you said, this is just such a different year and it stinks. Honestly, it really stinks where the Pats are at. A year ago, if they had the number 4 pick, we're talking about Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Joe Alt right now. That would be fun. That's just not the case this year, which is why I think it's Will Campbell, and I think he's a fine pick. Even if it ends up at guard, it's like, all right, that stinks. But like, it's better than drafting a cornerback or receiver who can't play and they're out of the league in a year. So sort of my hot take on that.
Yeah, and I as you know, I'm in Membu corner thinking like, okay, if he can't play left tackle, which is a projection, there's a risk. There's baked into that. And I think you could argue he had better tape last year, though it's close. Like all of this is very close, okay? Yeah. They're outstanding athletes. They both played very, very well in the SEC. You've got quibbles about both. Then the backup plan is he plays right tackle. And I would prefer that than guard, given Morgan Moses is 34.
Good point.
And maybe you just keep Caden Wallace at left tackle. Like that's a guy I know they envision as a swing tackle, talking with people in the league, but it's not. You still don't know if he can play left, and I get that brings in the same risk with Membu, but the guys who are as athletic as Membu typically have a higher chance of doing that when you take them up that high. Tyron Smith did it Jamal Brown, all these guys who we heard Doug Marone reference when he was talking about switching sides. But I just think, again, coming full circle, Will Campbell is a variable guy who plays the position they need the most. He's a consensus top 10, top 12 prospect in this class. He fits. Do you have a sleeper, though? Like I mentioned the trade back as an alternative to him just going at 4. And they still get him at 6. So I've unveiled what I think could happen, if not Will Campbell. Any Jalen Walker chance in the back of your head or any other player?
Yeah, if I put the odds on it, I'm probably like going into this week, 80% Will Campbell, and I'm probably over 90 now. But like, if it's not Will Campbell, I think it's Jalen Walker. And
yes.
he's similar where it's like he's such a good character person that he's a good defensive player, more of a versatile chess piece. I think you said like it's not perfect at 4 because none of the prospects are perfect. Jalen Walker's a tweener. He's maybe a little bit too big than what Vrabel wants as an inside linebacker, and not as big as what you want as an outside linebacker, but he's just a really good player. I could see him absolutely blowing Vrabel and those guys out of the out of the water in his pre-draft meetings. Really good character guy. So like I like Membu too, but if it's not Will Campbell, it's probably Jalen Walker. I think that's the ultimate sleeper here. That's really where I've sort of landed. Because they're both good people inside and outside the locker room. And I'm not saying Membu isn't. I just haven't heard enough about him. He wasn't a captain. Like Will Campbell, 2-year captain. Jalen Walker was a captain. And people rave about Jalen Walker at Georgia, just like they rave about Will Campbell. So this is Mike Vrabel's first draft pick, as a member of the Patriots or member of the head coach of the Patriots. It needs to be sort of someone who's rock solid. You don't want to take a big risk here. And I think Jalen Walker and Will Campbell, they don't represent big risks because I think you have guys with, higher ceilings, higher floors. So yeah, sleeper, not an exciting, it's at this point, we've talked about everyone. We've written about everyone. It's not like I can't say anything that's that exciting. Like I could be like, yeah, they should draft Ashton Gentry because he might be the best player available. But like, are you going to pay that guy number 4 pick money? Are you going to pay him the same that the Ravens are paying Derrick Henry? That's the risk. Are you going to allocate your salary cap to a running back? I don't like it.
How about you have 2 average to above average runners on the roster, and they couldn't get anywhere with the offensive line that you had, which has had somewhat upgraded with Garrett Bradbury and Morgan Moses, but those are also older players that were cast off by their old teams. Why would Ashton Gentry be able to get anywhere? It might be better than Ramondre, but yeah, I'm with you there. You and I both love Mike Reese, but in this moment when he said this, because it's just such a perfect way to describe Jalen Walker on the radio yesterday. I hated him, and I've never felt that feeling. It was jarring. I didn't like it. I was glad it passed. He said Jalen Walker is the Will Campbell of defense because he comes with positional concerns. Does he play full-time in the edge where he's a little bit undersized, as Will Campbell is at tackle? Or does he have to move to off-ball linebacker, as Will Campbell might have to move to guard? He does come, as you described, with the leadership. Plus leadership, character, everything. Plays hard. SEC program, thrives against that competition, and has short arms. So I just have to say, either way, the Patriots are taking Will Campbell. Either he plays offensive line for LSU or he played defense for Georgia last year. And I think that's just exactly where they're going to be. All right, any final thoughts before we get you out of here?
No, I think no matter who they drafted for, if it's not Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, people are going to complain. We could go through, like you can complain about Mason Graham, like why draft a defensive tackle at 4 when you paid Milton Williams and Christian Barmore. We can complain about Tyler Warren. Why would you draft a tight end that high? It's like, there's no perfect draft picks here, man, unless something crazy happens and they get Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. It's not going to be perfect. So you have to hope they pick the right guy. We'll know in 2 to 3 years if they pick the right guy. It's like this draft class, it can't be understated how important it is for Mike Vrabel. They need to get it right.
They need to get it right. 4 to 5 starters. You said that earlier. Is aiming. That's not even high. That is sky high, and hoping that you don't come crashing down because that is a wild bar to set. I think if you get out of 3 or 4, that'd be superb. 5 contributors sounds good, and that goes for any team every year in the draft. But day 2 is going to be just as important as day 1, as we said at the top. Day 1 starts tomorrow. He is Mark Daniels of MassLive. Follow him, read it, listen to him. I appreciate you coming on, buddy, and staying for a lot longer and dealing with a lot more frustrations on my end. But we finally got this off the ground. How about that?
It's all good, man. It stops me from having to, mow my lawn. So appreciate it.